I wonder if you've ever made a classic denim skirt. And actually, if you go ahead and make one, this could be a good introduction to making jeans because there's a lot of features that are the same on the top part. So I'm going to show you one today. Super nice purple. Sneak peek. Keep watching. Hi sewing friends, my name is Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing. Just for interest, before I hop into the content, I want to show you something that happened outside just a few minutes ago. I live in a really fun neighborhood. Everyone's in lockdown, people are wearing masks, and I have absolutely no idea what is being celebrated today because it is not Father's Day. It is not Father's Day here in Brazil. It's in August. But they passed playing music and you're gonna see super cool. They do this frequently. I'm not actually sure what is being celebrated, but I think it's really cool. Everyone goes out of their homes and it's like, yay. And they had like all those instruments and yeah, it's just breaks your day and brings a smile to your face. And I'm happy I live in such a happy place in spite of everything that's going on. Today I have a classic denim skirt to show you. I love the style. And these are the ones that you can make and wear for years to come, years and years and years. And I know from experience, I have some very, very, very old denim skirts that I keep wearing over and over and over. They're always so easy to wear. Just throw on, put any top and you're perfect, ready to go out the door with a denim skirt. This is a Danube Skirt from Itch to Stitch Patterns, and it's very classic in its features. It is a slim fit straight style, so from the hip it goes straight down. It doesn't hug the thighs. It's not A-lined either. So the features on the top of these types of skirts are very similar to what you will see in jeans. You know, you have your two front pockets that are curved, you have a little coin pocket, and at the back you have back patch pockets that are very similar to the ones jeans have. At the back there's also a yoke. That yoke piece eliminates having darts at the back. Same for these types of skirts and for jeans. And on the front you have a fly front zipper. The waistband on this skirt is straight. It's not a curved waistband. I don't really see that as an issue because it is a narrow waistband finished and it does sit at the natural waist. All of the patterns from Itch to Stitch are on a flash summer sale, and that sale ends on Monday, so through tomorrow, and every single pattern in the catalog is 20% off. So if there are patterns that you've seen me sew and you've been waiting to get them for a little bit less, maybe you would like to get them now, this skirt is 20% off. And if you want to support me at the same time, you can use my link and get a really nice pattern, and I get a little commission from there. This skirt is designed for your bottom weight wovens that don't have stretch. Denims, cotton twills, drills, canvas, corduroy, maybe those velvets that don't stretch, you know, anything that is nice for the bottom. Basically, you can use your stiff fabrics that don't drape. Those are the ones that you want for this skirt because it is a straight style, it is meant to be structured, and these are the types of fabrics that are going to look good with this type of style and really showcase the top stitching and all those features. I have had in my stash 75 centimeters of a purple cotton twill, and I know I can get a typical straight skirt with 75 centimeters, you know, the simple pencil skirts. This pattern has a few extra pieces there, so I had to be really creative in how I placed them in order to get my skirt from the 75 centimeters. Not an easy task. Sizing for this pattern is from 00 to 20 US, and that'll go up to a waist of 40.5 inches and a hip of 48 inches. It is a fitted style. There's minimal ease at the waist, less than an inch, and at the hips you have about 1.5 to 2 inches of positive ease for this style. This is very appropriate ease for these types of garments. Same as for jeans. You don't need that much ease here. And also, usually the types of cotton fabrics that you use for these styles, like denims or twills, you know, they might feel fitted when you put them on, but the fibers relax because they are natural. As you wear the garment, they just relax into your body, and then they're super comfortable and they don't actually feel tight at all. So very important to pre-wash these fabrics because they definitely shrink, and you want to be making your garment with the fabric already having done its shrinking that it needs to do. When you wash these fabrics, they tend to shrink again, but they don't actually shrink. It's just that the fibers go back to how they were, and then when you wear them again, they'll just relax again. That's how these fibers work: denim, cotton twills, that sort of thing. So if you decide to make a muslin for these styles, please choose a really stiff woven fabric that does not give, that does not stretch. You do want this style to be fitted to you when you're making it, because then it's going to relax and it's going to look good. You know, if you make it loose already, once you wear it, it'll start getting super baggy on the bottom, in the front. You do want it to be fitted to your body as you're making it, so then it can relax and be comfy. Now, before we hop into the practical sewing, I want to show you something. These are the Eddystone jeans. I've shown them on the channel early April, around there, and this is the front bit from the inside, so you're looking at the wrong side. And you can see that I've chosen this really nice cotton with red print. You know, it's really nice, but what you can see here on the inside is the wrong side of the fabric. And you know, inside, when I put my hand in my pocket, the nice color fabric, the right side of the pocket is inside the pocket. And I don't want the nice side to be inside here because no one's gonna see it. And whenever I see my garment and I see the wrong side of the cotton that I chose, I'm like really disappointed. If you look at ready-to-wear jeans or jean skirts and you look inside, they would just probably use a cotton that is the same side on the wrong and the right side, like a navy blue, and you can't really appreciate it. But if we're making these garments at home, I like to put nice things inside that I can look at that make the garment unique to me. And after observing this happening with all the jeans I've made and all the skirts I've made, they all have the wrong side here. I thought about it when I made these last time. I thought next time I make this, I'm gonna do it the reverse way so that what is seen in here is the right side. And when I put my hand in my pocket, the ugly side is in there because no one's gonna see that, you know. Actually, no one's gonna see the inside of your garment either, but you will. So I'm all for having prettiness on the inside. And so in Up Close and So Personal, I'm going to show you how to sew these front pockets with the fabric directions, maybe in the inverse way that you would see in patterns, so that the inside of the skirt is going to look super pretty. I mentioned I had only 75 centimeters of fabric, and I did something to the waistband to make it fit. You can't tell that I've done that when you look at my finished garment, but you're gonna see what I've done. So let's hop into there. I have only 75 centimeters of this cotton twill, and I'm obsessed with having a purple skirt, so I'm doing whatever it takes. I've got the front there, the back, the yoke for the pocket, the back patch pockets, and the yoke for the skirt. And I'm gonna have to piece the waistband and only cut half of it and have like a lining piece that will go inside from another fabric. There's no other way. And I'm also putting it on the crossgrain, which is controversial, but I'm just gonna do it because there's no other way. And coin pockets, only one that I need to cut, and I'm not gonna do it. Now this fly shield, I need one of those, and I also can't like get it from anywhere, like literally I can't. So I'm gonna have to do this with a contrast fabric, probably the same one I'll do the inner waistband with. The skirt doesn't have an inner waistband, it's one rectangle that you fold, but I'm gonna create that with that little piece that's left over there. The waistband is a long rectangle that you fold in half. There's a dashed line there where you fold in half and sew it, but I'm just gonna have the visible part be this color. So from the fold line there, I added about 3/8 of an inch, and then I'm gonna cut this exact width, which has the dashed line there plus the 3/8. And I'm gonna sew a contrast that will fold, and it'll turn out to be like an outer and an inner waistband. So this will be my outer waistband, and I've got to find one that will go on the inside. I'm also gonna have a center back seam on the waistband, but I don't mind that. Anyway, once I cut this exact thing with a lining and sew them together there at 3/8, I'm gonna end up with a finished piece that is exactly like the original one. It's just gonna be divided in two. These are the pattern pieces back. It will have a center back seam. There is some shaping there, so it's not a straight shape right there. There is the yoke that goes on top. My waistband that I have pieced into like an inner and an outer, but the regular waistband is just one rectangle. I just did that to save fabric. Back patch pockets, the fly shield, the front that has an integrated facing right there already. The pocket bag with the pocket yoke. So this pocket is cool because it's just one piece, so it's not two separate pieces. I find it easier to sew. I'm using a cotton twill. It's a nice medium weight fabric with no stretch at all. You can see that the side seams have this shape, and that is for the slits. There's a little dot to mark there up to where the side seam will be sewn. Here is a reference for the pockets, but I always just take this as a reference. I most likely will place the pocket a little higher than that. This is one of the pocket pieces. That's what's sewn onto the pocket opening on the front part of the skirt, and they have yoke pieces like this. With this fabric, it's hard to tell what's the right and the wrong. I determined what was going to be my wrong side, and I made chalk marks so I don't get confused. That's why there's a Y there for yoke. This curved area here has been serged already. I've done that with all the yoke pieces, and this will go on this part of the pocket where there's a hip curve there that you can see. Because I'm sewing the wrong side to the wrong side, I made sure that where I'd made the mark for the Y that says yoke is to the wrong side. I could have easily confused this because the fabric is so similar. I'm sewing all the way around so that then this pocket piece can act like just one piece and nothing is flapping around. Let's look at this one up close. So you have the curve there of the pocket, and when we sew that and flip it, it's going to be like that. And what you're putting your hand into is the wrong side of the fabric, the ugly side. So, you know, when it's been sewn, understitched, everything, that ugly side isn't going to be seen. And then this part will flip over this way. And that's how your skirt's going to be, right? There. But on the other side of the skirt, this is what you're going to look at. So it's going to look super pretty inside. The pretty part of the fabric is going to be visible on the inside for your viewing pleasure, no one else's. And then the ugly bit is going to be in there. So I know this is not traditional. I think instructions will never tell you to do it like that. But I've thought about it when I've sewn other projects, and I've been disappointed that the ugly side of the fabric shows inside with the pockets. So I'm going to be doing it like that. So the Danube skirt uses 1/2 inch seam allowance, so that's what I'm going to be sewing here. After sewing this curve, that is a huge seam allowance to have turned under and not look bulky. So I'm going to grade this down properly. The main fabric, which is the first layer that will be visible on the other side, I'm just going to trim to 1/4 inch. And I'll do this with both sides. And then the lighter fabric that will go behind that, I'm going to trim it even more than 1/4 inch, and that will make this area less bulky and the curve look nicer. So now that I've graded this down, it's smaller now, I can snip into these curves and then understitch. The seam allowance is towards the pocket there, and so on the edge. You can see the understitch, and that will ensure that this stays inside like that. All these pocket pieces have been sewn onto the fronts of the skirt. I'm just going to fold this into the inside of the skirt, how it's going to be, and press this seam that has been sewn, trimmed, snipped, understitched, all those things in here. You can see that the edge here of the pocket bag aligns with the hip there of the skirt there. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the top stitching there, but I want this to be neat first before top stitching. Okay, we're looking at the wrong side of the Danube skirt. You can see wrong side of the pocket, wrong side of the skirt. That has been sewn, understitched and top stitched already and pressed. And now this long piece just needs to be folded onto itself, wrong sides together, the way I'm doing it. And these two are going to match here on the hip. And you're going to have this open edge right here at the bottom. This needs to be serged and sewn closed, and then the hip basted there close to the edge, and then that basted up on the top, and then this front piece will be complete. You can see on the right side you have that piece there where you're going to put your hand through, and you're going to have ugly looking fabric inside, but that doesn't matter because no one's going to see inside the pocket. You will, however, see the inside of your skirt looking pretty like that. The Danube skirt, all the front and the back has been finished separately, so it's all done. The zipper still has to be trimmed, but the side seams are still dangling. So I have serged everything separately. That shape there, I just had to round it out because it was like a little rectangle there. That corner is impossible to do on the serger, so I have done that. And now you can see there's a little white dot there. So basically the side seam will be sewn up to the white dot, reinforced there on both sides, and then what's left over here will be a slit. The pattern already has this cut out there to facilitate mitered corners there. I'm about to sew the side seams of the Danube skirt, so I've got it all pinned. I've tried it on. So this is the original dot there, and the height of the slit is way too high for my legs. I've decided to sew 2 inches below that, so I've just extended that line and made a new reference there. So that's the original height of the slit, and mine's just going to be 2 inches longer. This is the waistband that I've created for the Danube skirt. So if I would have had enough fabric, it would just be one rectangle out of the main fabric, not divided in two with this cotton there. So to unite these, I just added 3/8 seam allowance to both of them. And there's a seam there, and it just creates the same original width that the waistband had. I did understitch that there. So the seam allowance is towards the cotton, the inner waistband, and it has been understitched, and that will ensure that that will stay inside, and on the outside just that will be visible. Now I will be sewing the waistband onto the skirt in the way that I prefer, which is the reverse method. I'm going to be sewing this onto the skirt, the cotton, and then flip it towards the front, and that's why I've done a guide stitch here on the main fabric, and I have already pressed that in ready for when that stage comes. Not interfaced or anything. This is my finished skirt. I have been wearing it a little bit so it is creased around there when you sit down. You can see the finished width of this waistband is not that wide. I'll put on screen how much it is. I'll actually measure it for you. I think that is the maximum amount of width I would like with a straight waistband. I do sew straight waistbands, and if the garment is meant to hit at the smallest part of you at the natural waist, I don't really see this being an issue. If the garment is meant to hit lower than the waist and from the back you start having the curve for the bottom, that's when curved waistbands are really important, especially for curvy figures, hourglass pear shapes. And you know, I did put stuff inside to make up for the width I was lacking in my waistband, and I have this beautiful cotton in there. I like choosing really nice quality quilting cottons for the insides. So that's how it looks inside. Because I did understitch this contrast piece of waistband I added to the inside will never be seen on the outside. No one will know that my waistband wasn't the original width, that it has this inside, right? Now, I have to mention something about cutting waistbands on the cross grain like I did. If you have your extended fabric and you have the selvages going up and down, you're supposed to place your waistband across. That's how it's supposed to be, and that's how it's instructed in the pattern. It's supposed to have the same direction as the skirt pieces or pant pieces if you're making pants. What happens if you put it on the cross grain like I did, so going parallel to the selvage up and down? I've mentioned in the past about fabric shrinking, and usually when you wash fabric, it shrinks from the top to the bottom. It shrinks vertically more than it does horizontally. So if you have a waistband going up and down, it will shrink like that. So there is that risk that washing after washing and wearing, you know, that your waistband is going to shrink more than the main pieces of the garment, be a skirt or be jeans. And you know, it's something to consider because you might end up with a really tight waistband. You have to know the rules to break them. I am willing to bend the rule when I have minimal fabric and there's no other option, and I know what my risks were. I did wash this cotton twill 3 times before sewing it. I would never put this type of skirt in a dryer to avoid the problem, and the other reason is because I don't have a dryer. I used to have a dryer when I lived in New Zealand because the weather was always raining and it was always cold. I mean, not always, but very frequently. It would be a waste to use electricity on a dryer when I can hang my clothes outside and they are dry very, very quickly. And I think I can preserve my fibers better if I just hang them out to dry. So I sometimes miss the dryer, but for garments like this, I don't miss it at all. I would suggest you have more fabric when you want to make garments. Sometimes I try to just make it work no matter what, because for some silly reason I bought a tiny amount. Now I have at present been increasing the amounts of fabrics I buy, but only by a little bit. You know, if I would have had 10 centimeters more, 4 inches more in the fabric, I would have been able to have my waistband normal as per the pattern, cut in the normal direction. That's all about waistbands. The fly front zipper is a super easy technique that is described in the pattern, and that is actually the same technique described in the Eddystone jeans. So if you buy any of each to stitch patterns for skirts and pants, you will see this technique very similar. So once you learn it for one, you can just go ahead and make all the others because the technique is pretty much the same, tiny tweaks here and there, but the same. And actually, sewing a fly zipper on a skirt that has a straight seam there is much easier to handle and manipulate than having this crotch curve there, which is much more fiddly to manipulate, you know, than just a straight seam. So if you've been scared of trying these things, of trying to make jeans, make a skirt. Because if you pretend from here down, you know, you could have legs here, but actually the construction of all this top part is the same. Easier to fit as well, of course. You know, a skirt is always easier to fit than pants. But if you want to get the construction down on all these things, make a skirt first. You have a yoke piece that is attached to the back. In this pattern, the seam allowance is pressed down and then you just top stitch twice. You can see top stitching there. The back patch pockets right there. I mentioned there's a reference on the pattern, and I usually place my patch pocket maybe 3/8 of an inch higher than that. I think it's more flattering for my body shape, and I've just learned that by sewing lots of these garments. But you have to like try and see it on yourself. And on a skirt, it's actually easier to leave the patch pockets for the end, pin them on your body, take some pictures, figure out where you actually want them, and then sew them, because it's much more accessible. You don't have legs here getting in the way like jeans do. Now on the picture here of the skirt, you can see that the length of the hem is reaching below the knee. Now I am taller than the drafted height for this pattern, which is 5'6". I'm taller than that, so I always know I need more. But I didn't just go and lengthen blindly. I did measure the pattern pieces and figured out, you know, this original length might be meant to hit below the knee, but it's going to hit just above the knee, and I like that. That is my preferred length for skirts. However, that slit on the side, I was looking at it and thought it looks pretty long, you know. So before actually sewing it, I just quickly pinned the side seams together, put my skirt on just to check the length of the slit. And yeah, for me, for what I like, it was going to be too high up on my leg. So that's why I decided to sew the side seam a little bit more. So the slit originally would have started there. It would have just been longer. Mine is a little bit shorter, and I'm happy with how much leg it shows on the side. Remember, when you sit down, the slit will go up even higher and show even more leg. So I'm really wary about these slits on skirts because they might look fine when you're standing up, but then when you sit, they go up higher. The mitered corners are easy to sew because they're already incorporated into the pattern, so you don't have to do any maths or anything. You just have to fold them together and sew it 1/2 inch seam allowance, flip, and they're done. So you don't have to like think about making them like when you want to do them on patterns that don't have them. So that's good. You don't have to think about it. No maths required. This is how it looks inside. The inner waistband that I created does match because it's got pink, you know, it's okay. I didn't have any like purple contrast, but look how pretty this looks inside. It looks so pretty. You know, I've got the right side of the fabric of my pockets looking at me when I look at this skirt. So I did this contrast fly shield there for 3 reasons. Let's say 3. 1, because I didn't have enough fabric of that. 2, because it's gonna match the pockets and look pretty. 3, it's a more functional one. It's way less bulky. Way less bulky on the front, on your abdomen, you know, it's just gonna lie flatter. So I really love how that looks. Nice pretty skirt on the inside as well as on the outside. And just a really, really cool project. I love it. I really wanted a purple skirt. Purple is a color that I love so much. I probably say I love it as much as I love red and blue, but it's really hard to find fabric in those tones of colors. I look high and low. I'm always looking in shops, purple, purple. I just don't see it much at all. I am building on that color in my wardrobe. I like the length of the skirt. It's perfect for me. I didn't have to adjust. The slit, modest, not much leg showing on the side. And this is the way I'd wear this in summer. Very nice at the hips, the right amount of ease for comfort. Little slits there. Here you can see the curve of the pocket there. No coin pocket for me. It didn't fit into my fabric. And if I look in there, I'm putting my hands into the wrong side of the pocket lining, so the ugly side of the pocket, and you know, no one's gonna see that. The front is super neat, you know, no pleats, nothing. It's very nice. It feels nice on the tummy. The fly front is easy to put together, easy to construct. Back patch pocket there with no design. Nice top stitching. I'll never put anything in there, as always. Skirt will last me for years. You're gonna see this a lot when I start building up my purple collection. So I really like it. Very nice, very classic. This is a winter look for the same skirt, different type of closed shoes, still with a heel as always, and my Cape Cod capelet that is a perfect match for the colors, and I always knew this outfit was going to happen when I had this in my stash, and I made this one last year. These types of fitted skirts are perfect for things that have more volume, like this little cape on the top, and I really like this. I find this is super flattering because it covers the tummy, but you still have a fitted look around the hips, and I really like how this looks. You know, I like to sew my waistbands on the reverse. You can see this tutorial that I'm linking here above to see how I put a waistband on the reverse. The only difference with this waistband to the one in that tutorial is that this one has closure on the front. So basically the waistband that goes inside gets sewn onto the inside of the skirt, to the wrong side of the skirt, and then flipped forwards this way. And then you have the flappy bit there that has already been pressed up with the guide stitch. And then I top stitch there on the top, and it's already been caught on the back because it was already sewn. So I love that. I love doing that, and the top stitching is always super neat on the front, and you never have to worry about not catching anything on the back. That is what happens when you do waistbands in the traditional way. So I've done lots of things here, upside down, in reverse, but I think they do make sense. And if you want to just think outside the box sometimes and get a different result, you could want to try them. I looked a lot for classic denim style skirts like this, and there aren't many patterns available out there, at least in the indie world, not many at all. Maybe in Big Four there are loads, I'm not sure, because Big Four is not, you know, patterns that I have available like to just get and sew, you know. I made this one, the Danube skirt, and another one, and I batch made them at the same time. The other skirt is similar but different. It's another brand, and I made it with stretch denim. So you'll be seeing another denim skirt very soon on the channel. I have already shown it on as part of an outfit very, very recently. It's grey, just a hint. I encourage you to try a classic denim style skirt. It's a great introduction to the techniques that you'll be using for jeans making. Highly recommend. It's more relaxed, it's easier to fit, and you can get your construction down on the pockets, on the yokes, on the top stitching, on the zipper. I hope you enjoyed this video and got something for yourself for your sewing at home. If you enjoy this type of content, give the video a like and subscribe to this channel. Tap on the bell so you don't miss out when new videos go live. I will see you very soon with more sewing fun. Bye.
Ooh.